Bible memory burnout is a real thing, and if you've experienced it before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So today we're going to discuss 3 different ways that you can proactively avoid getting burned out instead of having to deal with it afterwards. Hey guys, this is Josh with Bible Memory Goal. I'm really excited to be spending a little bit of time with you this morning, and I just wanted to share with you some thoughts that I've been really thinking about here having to do with burnout. Because when you set for yourself a really large goal, whether that's an entire book or in my case, an entire testament, the New Testament of the Bible, what I've realized is that you're really setting yourself up for some intense burnout if you don't do it well. There are 3 different ways that I've been dealing with that personally, and maybe this will be an encouragement to you. And the first is really a concept that was introduced to me by Ron White. I just interviewed him recently. That interview is going to get published here in a couple weeks, and I'll link to it if it's already published by the time you're watching this right now. But one of the things he talked about was an idea known as diminishing returns.
I said, well, right now you're memorizing 5. Tomorrow you got 10, then you got 15. Eventually you're going to get to some days where you're going to have 300 verses memorized, and you're going to need to spend just 2 or 3 days doing nothing else but review.
So what that means is when I first set out to memorize the New Testament, I kind of did the calculations and realized, hey, I'm able to do 5 to 10 verses a day. It's really been, it's been pretty easy for me at this point, and it's going well. So yeah, if I can just do this every day for the next 2 years, I could finish up my goal just like I thought. But what I didn't realize is this law of diminishing returns doesn't say that necessarily you can't continue to keep adding 5 to 10 verses a day, but what it doesn't take into account is the fact that in order to maintain the 5 or 10 verses that you did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that, you need to be spending more and more time on review. So one of the things that I tell people whenever we talk about doing Bible memory, at least extended Bible memory, is that great, if you can start off at 5 to 10 verses a day, that's awesome. But just understand this law of diminishing returns, that as you go along, it's okay to say, okay, well, maybe I'm only going to do 4 verses this day, or 3 or 2, or just 1 verse for the next week or 2, or even just take some time to review. Because one of the things that I've always shared is important to me is that I want to memorize for life. So the stuff that I memorize, I'm not memorizing it so that I can just say it on video or so that I can say it to a friend and then be done with it, even though that's okay if that's what you want to do. Pastor Andy Davis talked about that as well, kissing the book goodbye. If that's what you want to do, great. But for me, I want to memorize this and keep it. And in order to do that, I have to understand that there's going to be diminishing returns as I continue on. I'm not going to be able to memorize as fast as I want to, or if I try, I'm really quickly going to get burned out. All right, number 2 is this idea of sprints. This is something that has been used a lot in the business world, and I've kind of applied it here to the Bible memory side of things, where instead, and this is something that a lot of us do, where we set this goal of saying, hey, I'm going to do 1 verse a day for, the next few months. And that is a great goal and something that I've done before and it works well. But something else that has worked well, which might be something that you can try doing just to mix things up and see how it works for you, is to say, hey, I'm going to do a sprint. So instead of saying I'm going to do 1 verse a day for the next 2 months, or let's just say the month, let's just say next month. Instead of doing that, say, hey, you know what? This weekend, I am going to go hard. I'm going to just memorize 20 verses, and then I'm going to spend the next 5 days just reviewing those. Right? So I'm going to sprint, and then I'm going to kind of just jog. And then I'm going to sprint again, and I'm going to jog. You could do that for, just sections of verses. You could do that for whole books. I've done that before. You saw me. I memorized the whole book of Jude, not the entire book, but most of it in a 24-hour period. Actually, it was 24-hour period, but I wasn't able to do it all live like I had hoped. But I sprinted hard. It took me about 5 to 6 hours to really get it into my short-term memory. And then I spent time reviewing the book of Jude and making sure that I was able to move it into my long-term memory. So being able to sprint and then rest, and sprint and rest, sometimes that helps just Change things up enough to keep you from getting burned out, whereas sometimes that 1 a day or 2 or 3 verses a day can really wear on you, especially if you're missing 1 or 2 days every once in a while. All right, the final idea here is one that you've heard me preach a lot, and it's one that I will continue to preach over and over again, is that one of the best ways to beat Bible memory burnout is to team up with somebody. Maybe that's just your spouse. Maybe that's a friend of yours, somebody at your church that you also knows that likes to do Bible memory, where you can just say, hey, let's do this together. It doesn't have to be super time intensive. Maybe it's just getting together one time a month, or maybe it's just texting back and forth and saying, hey, were you able to memorize today? How are you doing this week? Something like that. And if you don't have access to any of those kind of resources, or if you're just a little too shy to do it something in person, we also have an online community that I highly recommend that you join. I'd love to have you with us. We're now at over 200 people, and yet we have these small groups that allow for a little bit more intimate community. So if you go to BibleMemoryGoal.com/join, you can join. It's entirely free, and you can enjoy the encouragement and enjoy the camaraderie with people all over the world. We have people in Europe, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in America, all of these different places that are also memorizing the Bible. So if you don't have somebody that you can team up with in person, then you can do it online. And it's a great opportunity to do it there as well. So that's how you can beat Bible memory burnout, at least 3 options that I know of. Do you have anything else that you would recommend? If you do, please leave that in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you proactively try to avoid getting burned out in your Bible memory goal setting and in all the work that you're putting into this, because this is something we want to enjoy, right? This isn't something that we want to become a burden. And so how can we make sure that we maintain that joy without getting burned out? Thanks so much. I look forward to reading your comments, and God bless.